Welcome to the 4 Habits podcast, where we help you build relationships that thrive at home, at work, and in life. We're Dr. Andrea and Jon Taylor-Cummings, and every week we bring you actionable insights to create meaningful connections and lasting success. So let's dive in.
So it's one thing having to go through the pain and trauma of divorce, but it takes the emotional and psychological swirling to a completely different level when you're doing that under public scrutiny, in the eye of the media, on celebrity pages. And in the studio with us today, we have the expert in this area, Stacy D. Phillips. We're so delighted to have you with us, Stacy. Thank you for coming on board.
Thank you for including me.
We're looking forward to the conversation, but as our guests know, we need to give you the proper introduction before we get started. So, Jon, why not take us through the bio?
I always loved doing this bit. What was that?
I love that word proper, said with a...
We like to do it properly here. Alrighty, here we go. So Stacy D. Phillips is one of the United States' most respected family law practitioners, specializing in high-profile and high-net-worth divorce and custody cases. For 4 decades, she has represented celebrities, athletes, executives, and public figures, often in the glare of media attention, combining sharp negotiation skills with compassion and discretion. As founder of the Los Angeles office of Blank Rome's matrimonial and family law practice, Stacy built a powerhouse team of legal and professional experts spanning psychology, finance, and addiction recovery. A certified family law specialist, she is equally skilled in litigation, mediation, and collaborative divorce. Her influence extends beyond the courtroom. She co-authored California's Senate Bill 924 to protect domestic violence survivors. She chairs Public Counsel, the largest nonprofit law firm in the USA, and she has founded initiatives like the Adopt a Center program and the Women's Leadership Summit. She's also an author of Divorce, It's All About Control, a columnist, a podcast host, and a sought-after media commentator. Stacy draws on both her professional expertise and her personal journey as the former spouse of an alcoholic. So whether in Beverly Hills, in New York, or in London, she is a connector of people and ideas, inspiring change through just about every platform that she touches. So Stacy, it is a joy to have you on the show. We are so looking forward to this conversation.
So many different directions we could take the conversation in.
But I want to jump in straight away. Just looking at, I mean, you have handled a number of the most high profile divorces out there. Are there any common themes that you've seen, emanating or coming out of some of these conversations that you've had in these cases that you've worked on? Any common themes across relationships that you've seen?
Celebrities put their pants on the same way you and I do.
I love that.
Okay.
I mean, it's fascinating to be with somebody who, can fill a stadium or walks down the street or can't walk down the street or comes to my office in a disguise, and they have the same fears and concerns, etc. I remember I was in court with one celebrity, and he had to keep excusing himself to go to the bathroom because being in court just really made him ill. Wow. But as we were leaving the courthouse, and the guards, the sheriffs, helped us get through back ways because the media was all over us. And he literally, just put his chest out, and he was like a king. And literally, they plowed me over, knocked me down to get to him. And it was such a juxtaposition between the person in the courtroom who was afraid and the person who was at the top of his game with his chest out.
Yeah.
They're people.
Completely different personas he was able to put on, huh?
Yes. The only difference is when you're dealing typically with celebrities, not always, there are other people involved, they're handlers, that they're their agents, they're business managers, they're lawyers, who sometimes want to control the message, control the contact, as well as it can be played out in the media, and you have to be very careful of what you communicate, in which case sometimes I hire specialized PR people for litigation. That's what they do. to make sure the message is okay, and understand that what's ever in a public file in the United States and certainly in California can be all over the internet, and we know it can go viral in a nanosecond, and it doesn't mean they get it quoted correctly.
Yeah.
For sure.
And it just shows the real vulnerability of going through a divorce process, whoever you are, because, in your description of the man in the public eye pushing chest out and, top of the A game, and yet suffering in silence with fear on the inside, that must put a lot of weight or pressure on you in the way that you handle cases and the way that you try and distinguish what's really true versus what's fixed up for the media consumption. How do you stay true to the cause in the work that you're doing in your defense?
You're absolutely right. But my job as a lawyer is to get to know the person, and understand what the person needs, and that's not always what they want to hear.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a little bit, not sometimes, always it's a little bit of tough love. I believe in being direct, but being kind, because it's going to do my client no good if they're going to get pablum or everything sugar coated.
Yeah.
But it's how you communicate and treating them as a person. They are a person. They hurt the same way you and I do. They may appear for the public eye to have it all together. Seeing a celebrity cry or say, I'm terrified, or what do I wear to court, Stace?
Yeah.
It's fascinating, but I treat everybody the same. So they get the same treatment as somebody who is not rich and famous.
And you say they're all people.
Yeah, I love the way you balanced, going after, I don't remember how it said it, like going the litigious side with compassion, because how do you, I guess one question is, do you ever have people coming to you wanting a divorce, but through a collaborative approach, you've been able to help them find their way forwards in the relationship, or do they only come to you when it's too far down the road and too late?
Well, let me take it one step further. I have saved several marriages from people who have come to me.
Okay.
The easy way to do that is to urge them to go to marital counseling. But I've had 2 times where I've called my opposing counsel and said, my client would really like to save the marriage. Can you please talk to your client? And it happened to be the same opposing counsel both times over these. And the first time we saved the marriage, they went to counseling. We all agreed. The second time she called me back and said her client was not interested and that divorce was just entered. And my client was brokenhearted. And I told him, as I tell most men, that he would be in a really good relationship within a year. And he might even get married within a year. And he is in a really good relationship within a year. And one of my other favorite clients, I told him that he thought I had horns. And within a year, he was married. I know what I'm doing. I know how people think of, especially men, if they have been in a marriage and they like being married, even if the marriage didn't work out, or if they were the ones who wanted to keep the marriage and their wife didn't, they will be remarried quickly. Because they like the institution of marriage. They like being in a committed relationship. They like coming home to somebody.
Yeah.
I want to ask an interesting, well, for me, an interesting question, just based on what you've said just now. And I'm conscious that we're guilty, or we could be guilty of stereotyping. But do you handle a client differently depending on whether it's a man coming to you looking for divorce or a woman coming to you looking for divorce? Or I'm assuming, well, are you generally on the side of the what would it be now, the person instigating the case or bringing the case, or are you on the recipient's end, or are you seeing any differences between the genders, I guess is the question here, and how they handle it?
Nothing cookie cutter. I represent a lot of women who are the primary breadwinners and primary custodial parents. I represent men who are not. I represent men who are the primary breadwinners, primary custodial parents, women who are not. I treat people the way I think they personally need to be treated. Are there different approaches and skill sets? generically speaking for men and women, yes. But that's not every man, not every woman.
Sure.
Indeed, yeah.
I remember I had a client who was a very powerful lawyer, had a very large book of business in a large firm. And my forensic accountant said to me, "You sure he has that book? Because he's like a little old grandma. He's so nervous." And in his business world, he was, a commander. Again, in my world, he was scared.
Yeah.
And everybody is scared. Everybody. I say to clients, if you're not concerned about this, if you're not scared, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah. Or it didn't matter enough, right?
Correct. And
Yeah.
I mean, your life is changing, your home is changing, your relationship with your kids is going to be different. Uh, potentially where you go to your dry cleaners if you have to move is different. Your world is turned upside down, your finances are turned upside down. And you look at your relationship and think, if you are thinking, what did I do wrong? How do I avoid that for the future? And if you don't do that self-reflection, introspection, then you're doomed to repeat it again, which is
Indeed.
why I suggest people go to a therapist. Not because something's wrong with them, but because something's right with them and they want to make it better.
Yeah. I like the way you've reframed that. Do you see, I know we kind of started on this note, but are there any common themes that lead to the breakdown that you would want to caution people against or educate people about, or speak into the next generation of celebrities to say you must think about this or do this or prepare this? Any common themes?
Yes, and I wrote about it in my book. Let me give you a few. People grow apart. I'll give you a really good example. Man and woman get together, they're both on the management track. Man falls off the management track. A woman's still succeeding. They move because of the woman's career. The man never goes back to work, basically a couch potato. And the woman didn't sign up for that. She wanted a partner, etc. So that's an example of people growing apart. Either you grow together or you grow apart. Another is finances. If you struggle with finances or you become very successful, some people are more home buddies. They don't want the trappings of wealth. And so, again, money can drive people apart. Health, if one of the partners, or their children, or parents or siblings or whatever, have health issues, and maybe they disagree on how to handle that, that can drive people apart. You're probably saying, what about an affair? Yes, that can drive people apart, but not always. If the relationship is worth working on and both people realize it, people have an affair because there's something missing. And sometimes it does drive the couple apart, but not always. Rearing children, there could be a great difference. I hear this a lot. We don't agree on how to raise our child or children, and it is creating such a schism in our relationship that we've lost the intimacy and we can't be together anymore, which is only going to be exacerbated when they are in two separate homes, because you can't control what goes on in the other home. So this child or children are going to be in two homes with different types of parenting. And that's okay. The kids are resilient. Sometimes it's confusing, but it would be much more helpful if they could figure out, potentially with professional help, on how to co-parent and keep their family together. Those are just examples.
Yeah, no, brilliant examples. And I suppose what I hear as a common theme through all of that is core values, where your core values, your beliefs and approach to things are so different. They pull on your guts with a gut reaction and cause fighting in a way that you can't talk through. What would you say to younger celebrities, people considering a long-term partnership now, knowing that they're going to be living their life in the spotlight? What are the things that you would counsel them to think about or be proactive with so that they don't have to come and visit you anytime soon?
I never knew Paul Newman, but what I observed about Paul Newman is he had a healthy marriage and a real relationship and a family. He focused on family. And that's what I would say to celebrities is, yeah, go out in the spotlight, but remember what family is about, what your spouse is about, what you need in your relationship, uh, how to raise your kids being hands-on, not just with nannies and butlers and drivers, etc. One of my wealthiest clients is incredibly hands-on, and she does so many things, runs a business, runs different nonprofits, does great athletic things, music things, but she is very hands-on with her kids, and I really admire that. uh, if you can have children, you should focus on them. Doesn't mean you
Yeah.
can do it 24/7. And frankly, I think not focusing on your kids 24/7 is healthy for your children.
Yeah. True. Yeah. No, really well said. I know you have questions. I'm going to hold back for
Okay, okay.
there's so much I could go into.
Well, I want to pick up on the celebrity female for a moment because I have this long-term theory which I'd like to air here. Well, it's not airing the theory. I want to get your thoughts on it. But I've always thought that where you have a successful, dominant, powerful, brilliant woman, I think the pressure is then on her to manage that very carefully because where you come up against the male ego, if you don't manage that sensitively, you can get into trouble very quickly because the male ego seems to be, well, certainly in the relationship work that we've done, something that rears its head every now and again. And if you have, I mean, you certainly can't be holding the woman back. But if until she learns how to, and of course, to be fair, it does apply the other way around, where you have a very successful guy with a trailing spouse who is the woman. But just some of the examples I've seen where it's the woman who is in the driving seat, additional sensitivities come in because of this male ego. Is that something that you've seen out there? What's your experience of that? And any
I,
suggestions on how to handle it?
yes, I have a line I use with people like that, including myself. I mean, I'm a
Mm,
strong, successful woman. Check it at the door.
okay.
When you come home, um, don't be ordering people around. Expect people to do your bidding like you might at work. You're CEO of a company, you come home and your wife says, take out the garbage. Take out the garbage.
Mm,
It's not like you get to commandeer everything at home the way you do in the office, whether you're a female or a male.
yeah.
And understand your relationship with your spouse. I would hope that's a value judgment of mine, is more equal. And not everybody in your office environment is equal.
Yeah.
There are people who are younger who are learning from you, there's support staff, and ultimately at work, somebody has to make the decisions, as they say, call balls and strikes. And I believe a healthy relationship is interdependence. It's not codependence. It's not
Hmm.
complete independence. It's interdependence, which means that, for example, you would have more decision making about the children, and you might with the finances. You communicate about it. You have different roles, and you share things. But there's generally a captain of each of the ships. Otherwise,
Hmm.
you would be colliding.
Yeah.
And
On everything. Yeah.
as I said before, if you have different ways of rearing children, and you're both trying to be the captain of that and impose your way of doing it, you collide.
Hmm.
So you have to work out, as you do in partnerships at work, people you work with, you have to figure out how to communicate, collaborate, and work together in order to achieve the common goal. And you have
Yeah.
common goals at home,
Mm.
same thing.
Yeah. Beautifully
But
said. I want to push on that idea of ego a little bit more because your world is the world of celebrities, and I'm sure you get a lot of that coming into the door. how does how does that play out with the reason for the divorce and also the process of going through the divorce with celebrities? Is it different, you think, to the kind of average couple?
well, interestingly, I represent far more wealthier people than I represent celebrities. And
Okay.
celebrities
Okay.
are not necessarily the wealthier people.
Hmm. Hmm.
They appear to be. They tend to spend a lot and
Yeah.
have a lot of people that are hangers-oners.
Hmm.
Um, but as I think I mentioned before, what is different about a celebrity divorce, more so than just a wealthy person, there are a lot of handlers.
Hmm. Hmm.
There's the agent, there's the business manager, there's the business lawyer, there's the personal manager, and everybody is trying to manage this person. They may have different interests, they may look at it differently, and you're trying to manage all the people and give the client the best advice. I mean, I'll get emails when celebrities are involved from 5 people are copied. And then one will pop up, and then the other will pop up. Then the client will pop up, and it's like, okay, this is swirling around. I'm trying to manage this. And I understand where they're all coming from. And different people have information on different things. Generally, for what I do, the business manager is the most important.
Right.
Because they have all the financial information.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to take a bit of a right turn, and to the extent that you're comfortable in sharing your story, sometimes there is abuse of some sort that is causing or fueling the need for separation, either because somebody needs to make themselves safe, it's unhealthy, like with domestic violence or so on, or in the case of addiction. How do you, any examples of representing either side of that? How do you help couples navigate those waters where there's abuse involved?
So in California, in an intimate party relationship, domestic violence is not just physical. It's interfering with one's emotional calm. So dealing with an addict or an alcoholic is dealing with, it wreaks havoc on your emotional calm. Somebody sending horrific text messages or emails, stalking somebody. Another form is coercive control, controlling their whereabouts, where they go, who they see, how they spend money. Here's $100. You had what on the credit card? I mean, just that ultimate control. That's all domestic violence. And I deal with all forms of that, and they often come in groups. You could have a gambler, you can have an addict, you can have an alcoholic, with physical violence, without physical violence, with coercive control, without coercive control. I've been involved in 2 fairly high-profile cases where we got restraining orders for the other side, and I represented the man in each. Other side sending horrific texts that just make your skin crawl. That is domestic violence. So dealing with that, I generally represent more of the victim. I have represented the perpetrator. I had one client that I represented after she was found to be the domestic violator based on coercive control and horrible texts before I was involved in the case. And my focus was trying to rehabilitate her in the eyes of the judge. Ultimately, we disagreed on how to do that. And ChatGPT got involved and hallucinated. It was not fun. But if I represent, and I have done this several times, represent the physical domestic violator, I send my client, assuming he or she is willing, to specialist in domestic violence to understand why he or she reacted that way, figuring out what buttons are triggered. People who are convicted have to go through, in California, 52-week, not 52 sessions, 52 weeks. They do it intentionally. So every week you're learning something.
Yeah.
But I also have a private therapist. And even if it is not physical violence, I have my clients, if they'll listen to me, work with a therapist to figure out, again, what buttons were pressed, how to act differently in the future. And that's also true for somebody who's the victim, because they generally have PTSD, they have anxiety, and they need to understand why they were part of that relationship, how to make themselves healthy, how not to not repeat that, and to become a healthier person again. Domestic violence and all its tentacles is pretty horrible.
Yeah.
And while you're in it, you think it's normal. And then you get out of it and you look back and go, what was I thinking?
Yeah,
But
indeed.
it's hard to get out. It's learned hopefulness and learned helplessness with the promise, oh, it's going to be different. It's going to be different. So you have that hopefulness. Then another incident happens, whether somebody goes on a bender or they just pass out drunk, or they're chronically drunk, or they hit you, or they write vile texts, or they call you horrible names, lock you in a room. There's all different sorts. And then the person feels learned helplessness, and then the perpetrator may say, okay, it's going to be different. Maybe they apologize, maybe they don't, or maybe it's just calmer. Like, okay, that's the last episode, we'll move on, and it doesn't.
Mm.
I hope I answered your question.
No,
You
did,
it's a
and I
very
love
deep question.
And I love the fact that you are so proactive in getting them to go to therapy, because that's what we've seen, especially with divorce. You think that, well, the temptation is always to blame the other person. It's the other person's
Always.
fault. And as soon as I'm ended this one, I can move on to the next. But you're taking the same baggage and lack of skills or things that trigger you into the next relationship. So no, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Now, I'm conscious from having, again, reflecting on your background, your bio, etc. I know some of the work you've done has been about empowering women, and I know also that you were having this conversation just before we started recording here. You've been doing these seasons in your podcast, talking to various people out there, trying to get their stories. Tell us a bit about that. What have you been doing about empowering women? What's the message there? What are you trying to achieve? Clearly, empower women, but how are you looking to do that?
So I want to make sure something is clear. I represent men and women. I represent men and women, earning spouse, non-earning spouse. I had a client say to me the other day, well, I know you prefer representing women, and I don't. I like having the mixture.
Yeah.
The needs and the communication, generally speaking, is different. But I also know that being a woman is more difficult. I had my dad. I had women who I looked up to and tried to learn from, but I didn't really have a mentor. So I work very hard at mentoring more typically women, because the women ask me, or I'm assigned a woman in different roles in my firm. So, and I entertain a lot for men and women, but I very specifically have a women's holiday party of 200 amazing women. I have a gal's birthday party, and then I have a guys and gals birthday party. I have luncheons and dinner parties that are just women, and then some are men and women. When I got to Blank Rome 9 years ago, it's amazing, it's 9 years ago. Within the first couple of months, I had an idea that, God bless our head of business development marketing at the time, and God bless our managing partner and chair of the firm at the time, because they greenlit my idea, which was to have what we started to call the Women's Leadership Summit. My belief was that the women in the 15, 16 offices of Blank Rome needed to know each other, because you can't refer to each other in the same way if you don't know somebody personally. And if you needed help from somebody, everybody in my firm is amazing. You may not know somebody, and you call them and say, I need help. They're very quick to respond. But it is very different saying to a client, I like to refer you to Jeannie because she is terrific at X. And Jeannie was one of the people who inspired me to do the Women's Leadership Summit. And I wanted to get to know her more. And the other people I met, I was in the DC office when I had this idea. And then to work with our female general counsels, business owners, head of HR, head of operations at companies, to help them, because their needs are different. And that builds the relationship then between Blank Rome and the client. And for the first few years, our then managing partner and chair would have me speak at most partners meetings, prop me up, show my picture, talk about this. And it took about 4 years, and I remember this vividly. I was speaking at a partners retreat. I was up on a podium and a stage with a whole room full of our 350 partners at the time. And I was talking about the Women's Leadership Summit, and I could see the light bulbs go off in their head. And each one of them said, okay, now I can send my clients. Where were you for the past 3 or 4 years when you could have been sending your female clients? So they opened it up to have more of our clients. And I personally was responsible for some of my male partner clients. And some of them, the female partners, have become my friends. And my word is, if you, for example, are in LA, I meet you, you're part of my world, you get invited to the things that I do. And it's pretty darn cool. I mean, I was just had an idea, and Bank of America and Bonhams and Blank Rome just did an event at the Skirball Center, which is an amazing institution. It had the Diane van Furstenberg exhibit. I mean, not only did she create the wrap dress, but she empowered women, and she put her money and her time in doing that. And so we had 100 women from these 3 companies. Our tables, I curated the tables, were all integrated with the 3 companies. It was amazing how much crossover there was. At my table, I had one of my guests. I knew because of what she did for a living and what she did for the community, she would be very interested in being around the bottom people. Little did I know, she knew all of them that were seated at our table.
Oh,
wow,
really?
okay.
After the work, I had no clue, but it was like a perfect selection, and I just thought they would like each other. So here you had 100 very powerful women. You can go on the Blank Rome website, my Instagram, and you can see pictures from this, including some of the people from my podcast. So to answer that question,
Yeah.
I do a mini podcast that is legally driven. It's called Ask Stacy. I write and I answer questions, generally involving divorce, custody, and the like. But my big podcast is Stacy D. Phillips and Friends, is with a dear friend of mine who's a co-host, and then generally a celebrity guest. And I mentioned to you before we went on camera that some of my celebrity guests from season 1 ended up becoming good friends of mine and were my co-hosts in season 2 and are part of my world. They come to my house, they come to my parties, da 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 da. And the conversation is a conversation. It is not legally driven unless it is raised by one of the guests, because I've had mayors of cities, I've had somebody who's helped get somebody out of prison who's been in prison for multiple decades. But I've had people from TV, people from fashion, comedians, stunt driver who drove to my house for a party in the largest army vehicle I've ever seen in my life. And she is as small as I am. And
Oh,
we
wow.
walked down the street to look at this vehicle. It was like the size of a house. And she drove that thing. Very cool. So I've met really interesting people. We taped my second season a few months ago. It's about to drop. And then in mid-September, we're taping the 3rd season. I've had tons of women ask me if they can be on it. I've had men ask me if their wives, partners, etc., could be on it. I've had men ask me. My
They
last
could
dinner
be on
party was a whole conversation about why men are not on it. And maybe eventually, but women have a different conversation.
Yeah.
And I want to encourage women, especially in a mentorship way, if people watch or listen to this podcast. Interesting, my daughter's generation, they listen. We're doing this, we're taping this. I wonder how many people will actually see us as opposed to just listen to us. But yes, I put makeup on and did my hair. So I'm very excited about the podcast. I think it's really fun to do. But interestingly, every time I've taped, because I've taped in different weeks, even for season 1 and season 2, I've gotten COVID or a form of the flu.
Every time you've taped.
Every time. And the
Somebody's trying to
symptoms
stop
are
you.
the same to me. I don't feel it like when I'm taping. And if I do, when you get the adrenaline of taping, it doesn't matter. So obviously it takes something out of me.
Indeed,
And
yeah.
we tape like, I don't know, 5 in a day, and change my clothes so that, it's fresh and new, different people. It's really fun. And it's helped me also develop relationships with people I would not otherwise have met.
Yeah.
But one of my podcast celebrity guests, who became a friend and a co-host, owns a Kookaburra Lounge in LA. It's a comedy club. She is amazing. I would not have had the opportunity to meet somebody like that. And then a group of us go to the Kookaburra Lounge together. I mean, it's really fun. I'm a lawyer. This is different. And I want my life to be varied. And I want to encourage women of different ages and different walks of life. Be a
Well,
role model.
Yeah, creating that network of support, whatever the challenges of your work
Hey,
is. Yeah, no, I totally get. I'll visit.
I was
come.
gonna say, I have to say, we love doing these podcasts as well because of some of the fascinating people we meet, like yourself. I
Mhm.
mean, this will be. I'm not sure exactly when this episode comes out that we're recording here today, but we're up to about pretty much episode 100. And we've been just loving doing them, just meeting some really interesting people, having some great conversations. And the feedback we get from our guests who are listening around the world is that these are some real insights and tips and practical things that they can take away to improve the quality of their relationships, improve the quality of their lives. I mean, we have three streams that we talk about, which is helping people enjoy better harmony at home, thrive at work, or win at life. And you know what? When you get to divorce territory, it can impact all three of those. Yeah, in terms of how you turn up, how you move forward. So yeah, love these conversations. Love
And you
having them.
mentioned the word mentoring, which
Mm,
is sadly still lacking in the kind of the frequency or the abundance that it should exist.
yeah.
And doing podcasts like this and having people like yourself on the show is a way of mentoring the next generation. If they can't ever
Agreed.
meet you in person, they can hear your stories, hear your passion, learn from your experience, and be mentored even without meeting you, which is one of the other things that we love about the benefits of doing these podcasts. And that,
Agree with you. That's one of the reasons I do what I do. My mini podcast, as well as my big podcast, is to mentor people, to be role models. Um, People learn from experience. I have a line: good judgment comes from experience, most of it bad.
Mm,
And if somebody can avoid having the bad and learn from my experience, all the better. I
yeah,
say to people I work with, and I say to my kids, don't make the mistakes I did. Learn from
yeah.
the mistakes I made. You'll make your own, but at least I can hopefully save you from mistakes I've made.
Yeah, indeed. And while we're on this subject of mentoring and women, what would you, if there was one thing or two things that you would want to share with a woman that you mentor, what would it be?
Be true to yourself and develop your passions, your business, etc., organically. Example, when I talk to younger lawyers who want to develop business, uh, okay, do you play golf? No. Okay, so you're not going to be on the golf course. What are you going to do? Do what's comfortable for you. I entertain. That's the quickest way I can pull somebody into my life is to invite them to my home for a party or take them out to lunch. But I prefer the parties because then I can introduce them to other people.
uh-huh.
And that's really giving back. And I give back before somebody gives to me. That's just the way I roll.
Mm,
Um, and be organic. You want to write? I'll help you find a place where you can be published. You want to speak? I'll help you find a place where you can speak. You want to sit on a board? I'll help you find a board, nonprofit. Being on a for-profit board is much more difficult to do.
hmm
Uh, all of my friends want to do that. Friends and clients, it's the thing. Uh, but be authentic, be true to yourself, and be organic. Uh,
I love that. And
that's
you
what you
also
want.
said, without saying it, you said be intentional, because it's be intentional about the things that will help you to be organic in growth. No, love that. Great mentoring advice in 1 minute, right?
and, and
Thank you.
and it sounds like mentoring advice that applies for men equally.
Yeah.
I
You're
I,
desperate to
I
get
know.
in there.
I know you're gonna be one of your seasons coming. Maybe it's season 4 coming. It's gonna be all guys on the show, right?
Okay. Well, just to make you laugh, I belonged to a group many years ago for about 10 years. It was sort of our inside outside cabinet. I was the only woman. And I remember we went on a retreat. It was the beginning of my involvement. And I was driving home after the retreat. We had gone to Santa Barbara. And I was in the car with two guys. And I said, so was it different with me there than the way it's always been with just guys? And one of my friends said, Stace, you have bigger cojones than most of the men. Okay. But that also make you laugh further. Um, there was a pool and a jacuzzi. And the first year I had shorts on. I wanted nothing to do with that. I mean, there were 10 guys. The second year, I put on a bathing suit and sat at the side of the jacuzzi. And they would rib me all year about, putting on a bathing suit because, they looked at each other. There were guys in bathing suits, but a woman in a bathing suit, oh, that was a big deal.
Yeah.
Men.
Yep.
So did you ever make it into the pool like year
No
3 or
way.
something?
No way.
The hair, right? Got to think about
Exactly.
I get you.
Yep.
I get you.
Well, it's been fascinating talking with you, Stacey. I knew it was going to be what we knew it was going to be. As we come to wrap now, though, any parting thoughts that you want to leave? Anything you want to just share with the audience, just to impact them in terms of thinking about their relationships, where they're heading? Are they heading to divorce? Are they not heading to divorce? Just any thoughts you might want to leave from a relationship perspective.
Well, as you started to ask the question, let me tell you where my head went. It had nothing to do with divorce.
Mm-hmm.
It is, I'm a believer, this is the way I was raised. If you do well, you need to do good.
Okay.
Give to your community, be involved in philanthropy. I'm the chair of the Board of Public Counsel. I've been the chair of other nonprofits. As you mentioned before, I started our Adopt a Center program 27 years ago. We adopted different local nonprofit every year. Not United Way's local office, but something indigenous to LA that takes care of families or children. It's really important to me. It's really important to my law firm, which is one of the reasons I moved my firm to blank Rome. If my law firm wasn't as focused on giving back to the community and pro bono, I wouldn't be here. And if I extrapolate from that, I do believe that people going through a divorce need to have other things in their lives. It's a lot to juggle with a divorce and a job or a family. But for those who can only focus on their divorce, they're not going to be as healthy going through it. So you need to build and rebuild a life, a hobby. I remember saying many years ago to a client who her kids were her life, but now the kids were part of the time with the dad. She goes, I don't know what to do with my time. And I said, you like photography, take a photography class, take a yoga class, do something, you'll meet other people, build a life for yourself. It's not healthy if the only focus of your life is your children. Your kids need your focus, but they need to have their independence too without a helicopter mom or a helicopter dad. So my philosophy about community service, philanthropy, networking, mentorship, and then my two personal, aside from my family, is music and fashion.
Okay.
Those are my loves. And so much of my entertaining revolves around music. It's a form of networking and fashion.
Beautiful.
So hopefully people will get out of their own way and build a life.
Yeah. And allow themselves to even identify the passion, because sometimes life can feel so hard where you are that you forget the things that bring you joy or exclude them because things are so tough. So
Very well stated. Yes, you have to remember what brings you joy or find new ways to bring yourself joy.
Yeah, amazing. I knew we could take this conversation in so many different directions, but
Just and as we get to know you better, you say music. What kind of music? What's your genre? What do you like?
I like a lot of genres, all the way from folk to pop to rock, not hard rock, to country, calypso, reggae.
Okay.
One of the things I always ask people, and I do this at dinner parties, if you were going to an island and you could only bring the works of three musical artists or bands, I mean, it could be Ella Fitzgerald, it could be Chopin, it could be the Beatles, but who would you pick?
Yeah. Wow.
And it says a lot about people, what kind of music they like. And I'm very passionate about music. I go to a lot of concerts. It makes me happy. And at dinner parties, I generally have a musical artist. And my favorite part of a dinner party is when most people leave by their choice, and then a bunch of us pull up chairs and have like a private concert with our musical artists.
oh,
Sing
beautiful.
along. It's so much fun. That's my happy place.
Oh,
It sounds like a very happy place
I can
indeed.
hear that. Amazing. Well,
Love it.
listen, Stacy, thank you so much for making the time. We knew you'd be a very engaging, interesting, passionate guest, and you delivered on all those fronts.
Oh,
Really appreciate the insights that you've shared with us and with our audience listening. And just keep being an amazing person, shining your light in your space.
thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
so
This has
much.
been really fun. Across the pond, as they say.
Yeah, indeed.
Indeed. Well,
Indeed.
to our guests across the world now, we say thanks for being with us yet again. It's been a fascinating insight. I think episode 100, pretty much
Is
there
it?
or thereabouts. I
Oh,
think
way
it
to
should be
go.
there or thereabouts. Just look forward to seeing when it comes out. But it's been great, and yeah, we look forward to seeing you all again next time. Keep sending us in your questions on what questions you'd like to
Other
have
topics,
answered,
yeah.
and your thoughts on who else you'd like to see in the hot seat, so to speak. Yeah, it's been great.
And as we say, it's a wrap.
It's a wrap.
It's a wrap.
Bye
Thank
bye.
you all. Bye bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the 4 Habits podcast. Now, if today's episode resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And don't forget, take our free relationship skills quiz at the4habits.com/skills quiz to start improving your relationships today. Hit subscribe, and we'll see you next time.